Hello, everybody. This is Otto Ranby. Um, Recently, I was viewing a video which discussed the views of of this history of America according to different groups of people, and I'm viewing it as historically we as Americans have been taught that our history has taught us that Christopher Columbus was was a great man, and we celebrate Thanksgiving as a time to give thanks to Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims and the Indians, supposedly. But when I was watching a recent video, which was talking about how the Native Americans viewed Christopher Columbus, I got a totally different perspective on how this really happened. Now, a lot of the views of Christopher Columbus from the alternative viewpoint is that A, he was looking for a totally different continent than the one he found, and that when he found America, he found that it was inhabited by natives and indigenous people, and he sort of, as the story goes, according to what we're taught, is that the Native Americans had a nice dinner with the Pilgrims and everything was handy dandy. Now, this is a lot different than the alternative viewpoint, which is that Christopher Columbus was not a good figure, that he basically took advantage of the people on the Americas originally, and that he they view it in a negative light, that this was a terrible thing. Now, some other viewpoint is that Christopher Columbus wasn't as brutal as depicted by some people. He basically didn't really do much wrong in the fact that a lot of the native peoples um, became sick from diseases um, that the Europeans were immune to. So this wasn't an intention. This wasn't intentional slaughter for the most part, because a lot of the indigenous people were passing away from um, diseases and viruses and smallpox and different things that the Europeans had become immune to, and there was no medicine at the time to cure these things. These were just things that the Europeans were immune to, diseases that the Europeans were immune to, and so you can't really say, that that was their fault. But then again, the Europeans did actually um, take articles of clothing and throw them onto, so that the indigenous people would pick them up and they would pick up diseases and different things like that. So there's like a very mixed view here. There's the one view that Christopher Columbus was a very good guy. There's the viewpoint that he was a terrible person. And there's the sort of in between where, okay, maybe he wasn't so good, but all of this wasn't entirely their Europeans' fault. So there's probably three, many altering viewpoints of this historical figure. And I thought that that was very interesting because, as we're taught, from what schools teach us as little kids, they teach us that Christopher Columbus was a hero, in other words. Now, maybe there's a lot of different views here. So, there's a lot of different religious organizations that existed back then and they exist now. For example, a very long time ago, religions such as the Mormons were moving into territories where there were Native Americans, and sometimes those experiences for the native people were not so pleasant. So I think there's a lot of differing viewpoints on these historical figures and events and different things, and I think it would be very interesting to have like a discussion group on it, maybe, see what other people think, how do they perceive these events, and what are the differing points of view. Maybe I could get like a couple of cases where it's like, well, this person A here thinks this, person B thinks this, person C thinks this. What are all the differing viewpoints? And I would like to do a poll on it to see kind of like what are the views and how do they differ? What are the differences between all these views? which I thought would be very interesting to bring together and to, maybe do my own research and see what are the perspectives of this, and maybe I even write a paper on it and put it out there for you people to read through and see, based on polls and opinions, and what are the opinions, and the objective inquiry will be very interesting to see. So thank you for staying tuned. This was blog number 4. Thank you very much. Peace.